We've got a lot to cover this month, a lot going on, and a lot of excitement building. So I'm excited to dive on in. I will remember to share my screen because that would be helpful. Yes. Um, there we go. And I want to thank Chris for moderating the chat. So if you have things to put in the chat, Chris is happy to answer and help out there, but feel free to raise your hand too if you have a question, because we want to make sure we get to them if you have them. So diving right in, Tom, do you have any updates that you'd like to give on behalf of FASD United?
Hi, Jen. Good to see you and good to see everyone. I simply want to say that I hope everyone has had a good summer, and those who are here today, hope you got a break at some point or are going to get one maybe this long weekend coming up because we have a lot to do, a lot going on. I hope all of you are coming to DC in September. If you haven't made your plans yet, you still can. I think we still have some time before our registration deadline, whether you're an affiliate or an advocate. So we hope to see you. Even though it's August in Washington, things slow down. The members are out of town. There has been a lot going on, and no one knows like Jen, and she is going to share that all with us. Sometimes when the members are away, you can strategize, and there are real opportunities. And there's been a lot of back and forth with congressional offices and committees and things like that. So it sets the stage for next month and all of the activities that Jen has, and we'll again remind you of things that are going on during Impact Week. Maybe some opportunities, even if you're not here, you can certainly be plugged in and you can track along with us. Very active with Cassidy's work on social media. So we'll be active there and all types of releases and things happening. So we look forward to seeing you. Thanks for all you're doing. Take it away, Jen.
All right. Well, yeah, we are busily prepping for National Impact Week. I'm very excited to have a lot of you joining us there in DC. But I would say if you can't join us, one of the things you really can do is work on advocacy that week and work on outreach to your 2 senators and 1 rep, and work on joining us for Hill Day, even if that's virtual. So I recognize that travel is a barrier for many people. So we want to have you included in that Hill Day. I wanted to point out again the resources that are available for FASD Awareness Month, and there really are a ton. So I would say if you have time, scan the little QR code at the bottom of the screen there, and or go to the FASD United website and check out those resources. We have activities for each week of the month. And then as you scroll down the page, there's a section of downloadable media. So a bunch of social media pre-made that you can download, as well as backgrounds like mine that you can download and add to your Zoom screen. And if there's time at the end of the call, I'm happy to walk through where to find that and how to upload your Zoom background. But we want to dive into to policy, of course, first. Vancouver conference, just to give a quick update on that, the Vancouver conference in Seattle. This is the International Research Conference on Adolescents and Adults with FASD. There is a parallel track, in addition to the researchers, a parallel track for adults and teens with FASD. The conference is no charge to adults and teens with FASD, with greatly discounted rates for parents and caregivers. And parents and caregivers are welcome to attend all of the research tracks while they're there. Great opportunity. It's looking like it's probably going to be April-ish. We're narrowing down the contract right now. Should have something out right around Impact Week with when exactly that's going to be here in Seattle. So if you're able to join, really excited to have you there, and more information to come on that. Education on FASD, or education and FASD, our survey, looking nationally at opinions and feelings and thoughts and attitudes towards education and FASD. Now's a really good time to share this survey with educators, with professionals, with people working in the FASD or adjacent to the FASD community, because even if they don't know enough about FASD to have an opinion, that's still helpful information to have them fill out. So you can fill it out as a parent, caregiver, you can fill it out as a person with FASD, or you can fill it out as a professional working with people with FASD. And all of those areas are helpful. And what this does is helps us start building a knowledge base for where we're at on that particular subject, so that when we're looking at potential legislation, we have a knowledge base to back it up. So really appreciate if you can share that, if you can do the survey and join us in that way. Registration's open for Run Fast. There's a lot going on right now, goodness. Run Fast starts September 9th. The final day for ordering product is September 1st. But if you order after that, we'll do our best to get it out to you. But really hope to see many of you participating, and you don't have to run. Like me, you can wobble slowly. The point is to get out there and be active in your community, talking about FASD. For our affiliates, Susan Ellsworth sent her regrets. She's unable to join us today. She's busy working on Impact Week and getting ready for that. But I do want to encourage you that if you have not yet joined the Affiliate Network and you're part of an organization that is working in the FASD space, feel free to join us. We'd love to have you be a part of the network. All right, the main event, the FASD Respect Act. Just as a primer for anybody new joining us, this is what the bill covers. It's a slimmed down reauthorization bill from last year, still accomplishing the same things that we hoped to accomplish with the FASD Respect Act 1.0. Looking at education, awareness, and services throughout the different silos of care that FASD should be included in, but isn't. Looking at building state and tribal systems, that includes diagnosis, that includes judicial system, that includes education, sending funding to the states to be able to begin looking at how they can handle FASD and put FASD in the mix of other things they're working on. So it also brings back the Center for Excellence, which allows for knowledge translation between all this research that's been done for the last 50 years to go into the state agencies and begin being used, as opposed to put on a shelf or kept on the internet. These pilot programs could become larger through the FASD Respect Act. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We always like to give a little bit of a pathway to where are we at. And this is a very simplified version of how, as Susan Shepard Carlson puts it, the sausage gets made. But we want to give you kind of an update with where we're at there. And there wasn't a lot of movement on where the bill is in August, because the House and Senate stand in recess in August. So nothing happens in August. Nothing happens. But as Tom said, a lot has happened in the last month, and so I'm excited to update you on that. But just again, as another reminder, the legislative session lasts for 2 years, so we've got 2 years to get this done. I'd like to see it done in one personally, because I'd love to move on to another piece of legislation. But hey, let's we have time too. So looking at that pathway, it seems all very straightforward. It seems very linear. Again, doesn't always work that way. What has happened in the last month? At the end of July, we received word that Senator Cassidy from Louisiana had included the FASD Respect Act into what's called a larger vehicle bill. And so the language from our bill got put into this bigger package bill. And what we know is that currently it is very rare for a small bill like ours, and ours is considered a small bill, even though it's big to us. They get put into these larger vehicle packages to get put through. And the vehicles are typically topics that are all around kind of the same thing. So the Support Act is reauthorization. It has to do with uh, substance use, and is really a kind of a great vehicle or mechanism to get our bill put through. Prior to Senator Cassidy adding it on the Senate Help Committee, it had already been heard by the House subcommittee. So it's already gone through the House subcommittee. It's been put into the Senate subcommittee. The authorization for this act, for the Support Act, expires September 30th. So that is going to be one of the first things those committees deal with when they get back off of the August recess. So that's another reason why it's important. And I put some QR codes down here if you want to check out what the bill is, what it's doing, where it is on the Senate side. This was all a little bit confusing to me, quite honestly, when I was looking at it. And I see your hand up, Kathy Hotelling, so give me half a second and I will definitely have you ask your question. So I wanted to kind of put it into, I had to put it into a simpler form for me so I could understand it. So my apologies for the kindergarten graphics, but that's what I needed to be able to get it there. So what we typically think of with the bill is the car on the bottom, zipping along, boop, 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 it goes through and it gets passed. Yay, we're all happy. With the vehicle bills, currently, our Senate bill is on the Senate train, on the Support Act. We are not on the House train, but we had some great meetings this month that are giving us the opportunity to also get our bill on the House train. And so those meetings were with members of the Health Subcommittee who could put it in as an amendment because the Support Act has already gone through their committee, so they'd have to put it in as manager's amendment, or it would have to go in through the Rules Committee as an amendment. So we've met with a number of legislators from those committees, and they are favorable to it. So there's things happening in the background that they are favorable to doing it. Now, we have not actually had officially the FASD Respect Act on a vehicle so far. We were always this close, this close, this close. It's actually there. It's on congress.gov. It's official. We're there. So that is a huge victory in and of itself. So what happens when these two trains finish getting out of committee is they meet in conference and then they decide, okay, which pieces of those that are different need to be thrown out or kept in. And that's where the Senate and the House meet in the middle. And again, we're hoping that the FASD Respect Act language will stay in the bill. At that point, it can get put out to the floor for a vote and signed into law. So, Kathy, your question.
What does it mean that the authorization runs out September 30th?
That is a great question. Thank you for asking that. So, programs that are funded through our federal government have to be authorized so that funding can be attached to them, right? Because it's great to have the program, but if there's no funding attached to it, what good is it, right? Because you can't get anything done. So the authorization for funding for those programs expires September 30th. So
does that mean it needs to be voted on by September 30th in order for us to get it?
It means that package of bills, the original package of bills that's under the Support Act without any amendments, would need to be voted on by September 30th, or they'd have to, that's when it expires. So it's kind of it's a deadline, but they can push it if they need to. Now, if the FASD Respect Act isn't on that train and doesn't get passed by September 30th, that's okay. we can still, in our little red car, zip along and look for other vehicle bills. That's not a problem, right? But this is just a great opportunity, particularly with it aligning with September, for it to get passed. And the September 30th date is really an impetus for the committees of jurisdiction to be dealing with this topic, right? That's kind of their timeline for dealing with it. So it's their pressure, not necessarily ours. Does that make sense?
Well, kind of.
It's politics, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
If Susan was here, and if
so
Susan
we
was here,
just
she'd be able to
want-
explain it far better.
So we just want it to pass by September 30th.
We want it to pass by September 30th. So we want to get our HR 3946 on the House side. And when it's in there, we want that bill to pass by whenever they're going to pass it by.
And how do we get it in there?
So
How do we get the red car on the House side?
The red car on the House side happens by those meetings we've been having with the Energy and Commerce Health Subcommittee and the Rules Committee.
I'm working on that. Okay.
You're working on, yeah, exactly. So a question, and I see your hand up, Joel. Definitely we'll get to that. A question that comes up is, okay, I'm so confused because am I advocating for the Respect Act or am I advocating for the Support Act, right? That's the big question that comes up. And we are still pushing for the FASD Respect Act. That is what we're pushing for. That's what we're doing outreach for. However, in those instances, when we're speaking to members of the Energy and Commerce Health Subcommittee or the Rules Committee or the Senate Help Committee, that is where we're talking about this vehicle mechanism, right? Because that will mean something to them. To the other members, it really doesn't mean a lot yet. And having their support for the FASD Respect Act makes it a more attractive package to be put on that train.
So that's what we want to call it to them.
The FASD Respect Act. We want the
No,
FASD.
we don't want to say Support Act to the people that are on those, like
on those committees. That would be a conversation that we bring up during the meeting.
Oh.
Yeah, just during the meeting, and where we talk about how Senator Cassidy has included it in his markup bill, and that Representative Dunn has talked about moving it. Representative Burgess talked about moving it. Just to members of that committee, it will mean something. If they're not on that committee, it won't mean a thing at this point. Okay, Joel, your question.
Yeah, it was similar. I've got a couple layers to the question. How do we get our heads around what the Support Act is that our FASD Respect Act is part of? I think that's part of what Kathy was asking. And the other question, just to circle back, there's the September 30th, there's other opportunities, just for clarification, if it doesn't make it there. Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if September 30th comes and goes and either the Support Act doesn't pass or we're not on it, that's okay. There will be other mechanisms, other bills, other ways of getting it through. But this is the first time we've truly been attached to a vehicle bill with the language intact. And we've got a good shot at this. We've got a really good shot at this. So that's why, A, I'm excited. And B, we're really needing to focus on Energy and Commerce Health Subcommittee, House Rules Committee, Senate Help Committee, because that's where the action is right now. So, oh, sorry, go ahead, Joel, please.
Well, I was going to say the other layer to the question is if there's money attached to it. Last year, it was one senator, if I remember right, that shut it down because of budget. So in this, how much of our piece, what is our budget within that bigger?
So there's not money attached to it. And what this is authorizing Congress to spend money on it. So you have
That's step one to get the budget. Okay.
Right. So then the next step for us after we pass the FASD Respect Act is then to go after appropriations to get funds attached to what's been authorized.
Okay.
And that's the workaround for the objections that we met last legislative session.
So is there a way to understand better what that support act is, that we're part of this vehicle?
Absolutely. So when you download the documents, and I'm actually going to throw it in the chat, and
Okay,
and this is why I did the kindergarten graphics for myself, because
it's great. It's absolutely great.
It's a lot to take in, and it's a lot to understand. So I'm just going to share a different screen here. Give me half a second.
Thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Of course. So if you want to see what's going on with that other act, let me find my my chat. In the chat, I'm throwing in a link to the Support Act on the Senate side. Okay, and that way you can go in and look and see. But it's the Support for Patients and Communities Reauthorization Act, Senate Bill 2433. And it reauthorizes programs under substance use disorder prevention, promotes opioid recovery and treatment for patients and communities. Again, doesn't mean we don't fit in there. And that's why Senator Cassidy from Louisiana added our bill to that text. So if you look at the bill text, we're in there under Section 210, which is exciting because we're in there. All right. So, oh, and I've got, so sorry, any other questions on that particular topic? Because that one's a lot. Meanwhile, everybody's reading the bill. Right? Do you want me to give you a minute to just read?
We can all multitask.
All right. So again, what do we do now? If you are coming to Impact Week, definitely plan on visiting with your legislators when you're there. If you are coming to Impact Week, that means typically you are involved in a state organization or you have some role in the state, or you can connect with people who have a role in the state or in state organizations that are servicing people throughout your state. So it is okay to set meetings with Congress people that aren't yours if you're providing support or services to other people in your state. So no, that's number one. You can do that. But definitely booking as many meetings as we can during FASD Awareness Month. And that's a good hook, right? It's FASD Awareness Month. Not just with the House Health Subcommittee and the Rules Committee and the Senate Health Committee, but with anybody. So if your legislator is not on those committees, that's okay. Please still book meetings with them. It's still just as important, because with this vehicle bill, with the train, right? We want to make our little red car as shiny as possible with all the bells and whistles. We want this to be a little red sports car, right? Or a red truck. I don't know, whatever is important in your neck of the woods. But the more co-sponsors we have on our bill, the more support it shows for that bill overall, and the more attractive it is to be added to the House train. So, Chris, I think there's a couple of questions in the chat. I don't know if you want to talk to those or.
Yeah, sure. I know Kathy asked, many in Congress will not let you book a meeting with them if you're not a constituent, and that's definitely true. If you go through their contact me page on their website, a lot of them have you type in your address and everything like that. If you have a specific congressperson in mind, reach out to me, and if we have contact information for their LA, their aide, I'll send that over to you. And that's usually a better inroad there. So I can definitely help you out with that. For Catherine's question, how many states already have meetings? Jen is going to address that with a nice map coming up soon. And we're definitely working on the Hill Day meetings for everyone still. So So if you indicated that you wanted help or you wanted us to set up your meetings, I would expect plenty of emails coming your way the end of this week and next week, just to let you know how that's going. For Carl's questions, Jen, I think I'll let you answer if you have anything more on the adoption caucus.
So yeah, thank you. And these are great questions. Really appreciate the interaction. It makes it a lot more fun to do these meetings if you're asking questions. So I appreciate it. Currently, the briefing we have is with the Representative Trone's Substance Use and Addiction Caucus. That's the caucus that has offered us a briefing. And so, we have talked to them about, can we include the adoption caucus and the foster caucus? And they all got a little confused, and they like things simple on the Hill. If they don't have to coordinate with other people, they don't want to. So currently it's looking like the Congressional Foster and the Substance Use and Addiction Caucus is the congressional briefing that we'll be having on the 21st at 3 p.m. So that's on our Hill Day. And that's just a really great opportunity for us to interact with our legislators and get more people involved in this FASD cause. And because one of the cool things that I see in all of these meetings we're doing is that we're meeting with people now for the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time, right? And they're getting to know us, and they're getting to know our cause, and their questions are getting smarter. And instead of the initial, I don't know if any of you have seen this look when you're talking on the congressional calls, now we're getting more engagement, right? Because they're bought into it. And so all of this outreach that we're doing, all of these little things like, sending an email, even if they don't respond, showing up to the town halls, just being a part of this are leading to, it's leading to us being viewed as a viable political movement. So all of these little pieces come together to make a great whole. And I really appreciate everything that everybody's doing on that front. So yeah, September is going to be a very, very busy month. We want to get as many people signed onto the bill as possible in September. It's a great hook. Legislators love a feel-good story, and signing on to endorse a bill during the awareness month, it works. We are still focused, when you're talking to your legislators, you're talking about the FASD Respect Act. If there comes a time where we need to be pushing the Support Act, I will absolutely let you know. The call will go out loud and clear. I'll light the fires. You'll know. But right now we are talking, it's still the same story. We're talking about the FASD Respect Act. Endorsements. We definitely want to beef up our endorsements. I'm working on the national endorsements and getting more added on there, particularly from last session. But I want to give kudos and shout outs to Georgia, Florida, Texas, some real great outreach there and momentum on building our endorsement list. And the endorsement lists are important. The right endorsements can really make a difference whether your legislator signs on or not. So again, part of the outreach during FASD month is to connect with these organizations around your state, and not only make them aware of materials that are available or events that are going on, but also to ask them to endorse the FASD Respect Act. See. So if you want to look at a current list of endorsements, I've got a QR code there. And do me a favor, just for the sake of argument, raise your hand if the QR codes on the slides here are working for you, or maybe raise 2 hands if they're not. Okay, 2 hands. I see 1 person with 2 hands. So 2 people with 2 hands. Okay, so would you prefer we put the links in? Let's see. I'm seeing a lot of 2 hands. Okay. So what we're going to do is go back to the links then. And we'll also maybe include the QR codes, but thank you for participating in my experiment with technology. We'll go back to doing it the old way.
Jen, on my screen, it's cut off the last little sliver, and that might be the problem.
That could be
It's
could be
not
the
up in the
issue.
middle enough.
It is not up in the middle enough. Okay.
Yeah. On my screen, it shows a product code of 077121113. I have no idea what that is, but
All right.
something thinks that's important. And it gives me a link to Amazon.
Well, that is not helpful whatsoever. So, okay. I'm just going to throw that in the chat right now. The link that you're looking at now is in the chat. There we go. And again, my apologies. And please let me know if technology is not being your friend with some of these things, because if you're having a problem with it, I can almost guarantee somebody else is. So appreciate the feedback on that. And really appreciate the work that everybody's done to get those endorsements. And again, just a reminder that it's a sign-on for companies and organizations, not individuals. So what's happened in August? We've had, and again, August being a very short month because you can't have a co-sponsor join if the House and Senate are not in session. So the House just went back into session late this last week. So we did get some co-sponsors in from Florida, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Susie Lee from Nevada, and Representative Allred from Texas. And you know, again, we weren't expecting any co-sponsors in September because, or sorry, in August, because the House and Senate were on recess. But hey, this is a bonus. That's fantastic. We did have a number of meetings in August, though, and met with a whole slew of folks. I didn't put in the scheduled meetings on there, which we have a lot of, but just because there were so many of them going into FASD Awareness Month. All right, Kat, here's your maps. So thank you to Chris for putting these together. Currently, the yellow states, because each state has 2 senators. The yellow states each have 1 senator sponsoring, and I believe we need to change Maine because I believe Maine has 2 now. But we don't have a different color yet for states that have 2. But the ones we've met with, and then the ones we have co-sponsors on. If you see a problem on one of these maps where like, no, I've met with them, let us know and we're happy to make that change. Giving you a chance to all look for your state. And then in the House, and this gets a little, this gets a little bit more complex, and I apologize for cutting. I don't know why Alaska and Hawaii are cut off. That's unfair. You know, I'm gonna, yeah, I can't move my screen, unfortunately. So yellow is sponsor, blue is meetings, but you'll notice like some of these states, like I look at Washington State, right? We've got a couple co-sponsors, or we got a co-sponsor, and we've got a bunch of meetings that we've had, but they've all been in and around the Seattle core. So you can't really see, because some of the districts landmass wise are so small, you can't really see where those meetings have happened. Although Chris does an excellent job of keeping the website updated with who we've met with. So if you go onto your state page, if you go onto your state page, it'll be there, the meetings that have been had. But just because a meeting's been had doesn't mean you can't have another one. If two constituents are reaching out to the same legislator to have meetings, that just shows critical mass. That shows that this is an important topic and they need to pay attention to it. So a question down in the chat was Senator Cassidy. And no, he has not co-sponsored, but a lot of times, because he's ranking members and chairs of committees won't sponsor bills. So they will support in the background, but they like to keep their position elevated from the general support. So it is not a bad thing that he hasn't signed on. That's just typical for the position that he's in. And I noticed Senator Kramer, we need to add on to the list, Carl, thank you. Documents to send to your legislators. And I'm going to actually switch screens here and show you what I'm talking about on the For Staffers page, because there's a lot of information that we have available, and it changes all the time on that page, so that you've got really the most up-to-date resources. So if you're on the FASD United site, if you click on policy, the policy center, you'll be taken to this page here. Under the FASD Respect Act, under legislative staffers resources, if you scroll down, here are some great helpful documents that you can use to send to your legislators. So these are really good ones to send over. Maybe don't send all of them at once. That's a bit overwhelming, but if you're looking for something that would be helpful to send to them, a lot of them are here. This one in particular I like is the history of FASD program authorizations and funding. And it talks about kind of the gap, where we are, and puts it in their language so they can understand it. Another one that's really good to send over is the comparison document for those that have signed on to the bill in the past, or co-sponsored in the past, or remember it from last legislative session. This compares last year's bill to this year's bill, and walks them through all of those points. So really recommend those two. And then the third one I really like is the Respect Act 2.0 incorporated into federal code. If you read our bill language, it doesn't make a lot of sense on the true bill, because it is just amendment to the code. And so this this document shows where in the code this bill fits, and kind of makes sense of it for the staffers without them having to go through and look at it. And then additionally, if you go, and I'm going to use North Carolina as an example because I saw Kathy put it in the chat, under individual advocacy, if you go into your state, and here's where my knowledge of states is bad, there we go, there's North Carolina. There is a helpful document, FASD in North Carolina, that gives information about your specific state. So each state has their own page, each state has their own document that can help. And then you'll notice when you go into the state, you know, we say when somebody's co-sponsored, you've got it all there. We give you information on where to go, who to talk to, what happens if you get a meeting, and then get, again, the letter of support. So if you have any ideas or suggestions on other things we can add to these pages, definitely let us know there. All right. Back to our other screen. So that is all I had prepped for, and thank you, Amelia. Yes, we'll make sure that Representative Baird from Indiana is on the meetings list. Appreciate that. That is all we had prepared for today, because I figured there would be a lot of questions around the Support Act. So either going to open up the floor for additional questions, or give you 20 minutes of your life back. So take whichever you prefer, but really appreciate everybody joining us today. And I'm excited to see so many of you in DC next month. It's coming up very quickly. Oh, a good question, Sierra. Are we skipping the policy meeting next month for Advocacy Week? No, we will still have our policy meeting because policy never rests, and because we're going to have a lot to talk about as we hit the end of September.
How many folks are coming to the week in DC?
For Hill Day, we're almost up to 90. Yeah, so we've got a pretty good contingent. You know, I'm happy with that. I think it'll be exciting to see everybody in force up on the Hill. And that may well be, I mean, I don't know, some of you have been working in this space a lot longer than I have, but that may be one of the larger contingents we've ever had go to the Hill. I know there's been some Hill advocacy during the affiliate summits in years past, but this may well be the largest and growing, which is exciting. So I know we've got Impact Week on the East Coast, and we've got the Vancouver conference in Seattle on the West Coast. I'm feeling like we need to do something in the middle of the country because there's some of you that aren't able to travel.
I've said it before, you're welcome to come to North Dakota in January. We could go do some ice fishing. We could visit the shanty town on the lake. But there's a number of things we could do.
FASD related. Yeah.
Yeah, cross country skiing. We don't have any really large hills here, but we could sure do some skiing. And if the river hasn't frozen over yet, and you're wearing a warm wetsuit, you could sure do some ice water skiing. But
all right.
And I'm sure Joel over there in Minnesota can do the same.
Oh, let's see. Marilyn asked a question. I don't know if Marilyn's still on about participating in Hill Week area in Impact Week. And Marilyn, really appreciate that question. So you want to talk a little bit about that? Are you able to come to DC and join us?
Actually, we have the two co-chairs, volunteer co-chairs of the Colorado Awareness Work Group, us, and it's facilitated by Illuminate Colorado. So they are sending, they're the official affiliate, they are sending 2 of their staff.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 of us are also coming. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm just not, I will, right after this, I will probably email their Illuminate Colorado's policy person just to see about that.
Yeah.
I would also like to say that I have a place in Florida, so I'm just looking up who is my representative in Florida. So I could don't know who's coming from Florida.
I believe, we've got a good contingent coming from Florida. So Jen Worden and Catherine Shea are going to be advocating. So you may want to connect with them.
Okay.
If you've registered for Impact Week, part of the registration that you did, and you do that on the website, part of the registration that you did asked you about your preferences for Hill Day. And so that's what we're using to coordinate people coming to Hill Day.
What did we say? I mean, I probably said I'd do it. Were there more choices?
You're going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're going to do it and book your own meetings. You're going to do it. And you need help booking your meetings. So I think maybe Chris can connect with you offline and let you know kind of where you're at with that.
Yeah, I'll double check, and if an email is already sent, I'll make sure it's resent, and we can get you some meetings sorted.
Yeah, because our affiliate, they're great people. The 2 co-chairs are the ones with lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really helps.
Definitely.
I also wanted to say that I was asked because I live in Boulder, Colorado, but my son is receiving services in a host home in Aurora, Colorado. So I'm actually going to get on a call with that representative. And I'm also his legal guardian, so doing that.
Is that Representative Nagoose?
Nagoose is my representative.
Okay,
And he's co-sponsor, correct?
yes.
Yeah, but Crow is the name of the man.
Okay, perfect.
That's for Aurora. So I'm hoping to be able to talk to staff with them because my son lives there.
Well, and
So-
for those, oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, I think we have some participants coming from Colorado who also have Representative Crow as the representative. So maybe we
Oh,
can
okay.
get you in on their meeting once we have that set up.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. And I'm in Daytona Beach, Florida. I just looked up, it's Mike Waltz,
Great.
but I can get with you, Chris, and I'll get with the affiliate staff too. Thanks.
Perfect.
Looking forward to it.
And thank you, Liz, for the note about the drop down for Run Fast. We'll get that fixed. Appreciate that. Yeah, so we do have shirts we ordered for Hill Day. If you indicated that you would like a shirt, some of you are never going to wear them and it would make you horribly uncomfortable to wear a t-shirt. So, you know, we're not in the business of forcing people to wear things if they don't want to. But one change you'll see from those of you that were there last year you had to be escorted up to the Senate offices, right? Because they were still under COVID restrictions. They still had a lot of safety protocols in place. Now, when you go, you just walk in the building. You have to go through, obviously, the security scanners, so the metal detectors and all of that, but you walk in the building and you can wander around the building and drop into legislators' offices. It's scheduling meetings. Yes, those are important. And if you want to have one-to-one time with the Health LA, which is really the preference there, those you should schedule. But even if you don't, if you're from that state, you can walk into the office, deliver some materials, ask to talk to somebody. You won't always get to, but it's definitely worth doing. So. And a lot easier to do now than it was last legislative session. These are great questions. Thank you. Can you bring purses, bags, laptops with you to Capitol Hill? Absolutely. What you do want to do is make sure that you have good walking shoes. We prefer red because it is these buildings make up entire city blocks. These buildings are massive. So good walking shoes are a must. It's pretty hot. So you want to make sure you're dressed for the weather and just have, it's kind of like going through the airport. You don't have to take off your shoes, but you can definitely put your bags and your laptops and everything through. If you have suitcases because you're checking out of the hotel that day, we do recommend that you leave those at the hotel because you may have a little bit more difficulty getting through security with a suitcase than just with a laptop bag. Let's see, other questions that are happening in the chat. What are you bringing with us? What materials? So we will have a folder that has all the materials you need to take to your meeting. If you want to bring your own materials, some states are doing this really cool thing where they're having people write letters to their legislators, and then the people who are attending are actually dropping those letters off. So even if you don't have people attending from every district in your state, you have letters from constituents that you're hand delivering to those offices. And that's a great way to allow other people who can't attend to be a part of what's going on with this Hill Day. So highly recommend that if you're able to do it. All right. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? What do you wear? Where do you go? What are we eating? Because those are all things that I like to know, right? I know if you signed up for it, the disability or the diversity inclusion day just sent out some materials on what the Tuesday is going to look like. So highly recommend that you check those out and see what that day is all about. The morning of Hill Day, we will be meeting in the ballroom and just doing a general overview of what to expect and how to do it. And then folks will be leaving to go out to their particular meetings up on the Hill, and we'll give you a dossier of where you're going, who you could possibly go with. We do not provide transportation to the Hill. Most folks do Uber or taxi over. Highly recommend the taxis in DC over the Ubers. They're actually more reliable, cheaper. We've just had better luck with them in general. And you do want to plan some extra time to get over to the Hill. But when we're putting together the dossiers, we try and take into account that, everybody's kind of on a limited budget. So if there's somebody else at the conference that you could take a taxi over with, we like to buddy you up and say, hey, maybe you two want to share a cab, right? So just trying to be as fiscally conservative there as we can. David, no bringing hairspray into the Capitol. I love it. Yeah, just like the airport, you want to be cautious of what you have in your bag.
Yeah, watch
Absolutely.
it, Carl.
Oh, dress code for the Red Shoes Gala. I get a lot of questions on that. Number one, nobody's going to kick you out for wearing anything you're wearing, unless maybe it's a pink flamingo suit. But even then, it might add some excitement to the party. So wear within your means. There will be people there dressed in everything from couture ball gowns to business suits to a really nice dress from Walmart. And that's okay. Nobody's going to judge. You are there in support of a cause, not there to walk the runway at the Met Gala. So really encourage you to not have wardrobe be a barrier to attending. Additionally, if you're attending with somebody who has FASD and you have not yet got tickets, let me know, because we do have a number of bursaries or scholarships for people with FASD to attend at no charge. So we shouldn't have people with FASD paying to go because we do have enough support that we can make arrangements for them to come without paying. We have enough of our sponsors that have done that and want to make sure that they're included. So if that's a barrier at all, let us know. You should have indicated your dietary preferences on the registration form. We do our best to stick with that. If it is vegan, we can handle. Vegetarian, we can handle. Severe allergies, obviously we'll do our best to handle, and you want to check with the chef at whatever venue we're at. But we will definitely do everything we can to be mindful of that when menu planning. The state of the science briefing that's happening is actually going to be happening at the hotel across the street, because we're going to have way too many people for that day. The Department of Defense and some of the other agencies are inviting a number of people to attend that. And so there's probably going to be about 150 to 200 people on that day. And that little room that we were in last year is just too small for that. We don't want bunk chairs, people sitting on each other's laps for the day. That would just not be a lot of fun.
Be awkward.
It'd be kind of awkward. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you again. I don't know if anybody has any parting words, final questions, but I want to be mindful of your time and respectful of your time as well. All right. Well, we will see you the last Wednesday of the month in September, after we successfully execute Hill Day and get us into the Support Act and get the bill passed, and we'll be rah-rahing for victory, hopefully at that point. And it'll be great to see as many of you as I can in DC, and those of you I don't get to see, I'll look forward to seeing you on the Wednesday following Impact Week to share some of the excitement and hear about your own victories at home. So, thank you all. $42. Don't forget.
Have a good day.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Live long and prosper.
Thanks, Debbie.
Yeah, Wyatt's sitting here listening, wishing we could go, but
Oh,
doable financially. When he heard you say there was tickets for people with FASD, he went, oh.
well, let Wyatt know that we've got a spot saved for him at the Vancouver conference in Seattle. I'm
Yep.
looking forward to seeing him there, and hopefully that's a little bit more feasible.
Yeah, because we're excited about that, and we've got other people coming too. So
Excellent.
great. Good to talk to you, hon. See you later.
You too. Take care, Debbie.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Marissa. Hey, Lynn. Did you have any final questions for us?